Stop and listen, because this message is not arriving by accident. If your heart has been heavy with questions, if you have been staring at the long road behind you and wondering why so much had to take so long, then hear this carefully. What happens next will begin to explain it all. Not every detail at once, not every answer in the same breath, but enough to steady your spirit and make you realize that heaven has not forgotten a single delay. Archangel Michael stands as a witness to the battles you could not see, the doors that stayed shut for reasons you were never told, and the unseen protection woven through the very things that disappointed you. Do not skip this. Do not dismiss it. There is more happening than you realize, and the next revelation changes everything. Comment 777 if you sense that this is speaking directly to your season. You may have called it waiting, but heaven has called it positioning. You may have called it rejection, but heaven called it redirection. You may have called it loss, but there were moments when the loss was a rescue, and the rescue was hidden because your eyes were only trained on what was leaving. That is why this has felt so confusing. That is why the delay has carried such emotional weight. Because when a soul is faithful, but the road is unclear, the temptation is to assume something went wrong. But what if the opposite is true? What if the unseen hand of God was preserving your future by refusing you what would have damaged it? Keep reading carefully, because another truth is about to be revealed. Type Amen if you have ever had to trust God without understanding the reason. There were doors you begged to open that could not open yet. Not because you were ignored, but because you were being spared from timing that would have cost you peace. There were people you wanted to keep, who were only meant to walk with you for a season, because their role was not to stay, but to sharpen your discernment. There were opportunities that seemed overdue, yet if they had arrived early, they would have collided with a version of your life that was not ready to carry them. This is the hidden mercy inside the delay. It does not feel merciful while you are living through it, but when the light comes on, you will see the protection layered beneath the frustration. Something unexpected is approaching, and it will make you revisit old disappointments with new eyes. Comment I believe if you can receive that heaven has been working in the silence. Archangel Michael says that not every closed door was about denial. Some doors were sealed because there were storms on the other side that you were not yet equipped to walk through. Some pathways were hidden because the enemy had already prepared an ambush, and God interrupted the route before your feet could enter it. You did not know the battle was that close. You did not know the conversations happening behind the scenes. You did not know that certain delays were not random at all, but divinely ordered pauses in the middle of spiritual warfare. There is another truth being revealed now. Heaven often protects by interrupting your timeline. That interruption can feel cruel until you discover what it saved. Stay until the end, because one of the biggest answers in your life is closer than you think. Type protected if you know God's hand has been covering what you could not understand. Think about the moments when you were almost certain something should have happened by now. The job that seemed within reach and then vanished. The relationship that looked promising and then fractured. The prayer that you repeated through tears while the sky remained silent. It is easy to ask, why did this take so long? But there is a deeper question that heaven has been answering all along. What needed to be built in me before the blessing could rest on me? That is the mystery of the long season. It was not only about what was coming to you. It was about who you were becoming as you waited. The delay was shaping endurance, and endurance was shaping authority. Do not ignore this part. The thing you are asking for is not only arriving with your name on it, it is arriving after your spirit has been strengthened enough to carry it. Type faith if you are beginning to see the hidden grace in the delay. There is a scroll unfolding over your life, and what was once hidden is starting to line up into a visible pattern. Picture puzzle pieces that never made sense on their own, suddenly locking into place with quiet precision. This is how heaven explains seasons that felt disconnected. One encounter mattered because of a later lesson. One disappointment mattered because it blocked a worse outcome. One lonely year mattered because it taught you how to hear God without distraction. Another piece of the puzzle is about to appear, and when it does, a memory you once resented will begin to glow with purpose. You will realize that the timeline was never broken. It was layered. Comment God is working if you believe the pieces are not scattered forever. You may still feel the ache of unanswered prayers, but even that ache is being used. It keeps your heart tender. It keeps your expectations pure. It keeps you from mistaking counterfeit for covenant and noise for direction. Heaven has been training your discernment in the dark. That is why certain things that would have once impressed you no longer do. That is why some voices that once sounded wise now sound empty. You have changed, and the change was necessary. The path ahead requires a deeper awareness than the path behind you ever did. Before long, you will understand why the old road had to end. A revelation is approaching, and it will not flatter the season you came from, but it will honor it. Type chosen if you know God has been preparing you for something specific. Before we continue, I feel led to share something with you. Over the years, thousands of people have reached out asking for powerful prayers they could pray during difficult seasons of life. That's why I put together a collection of some of the most powerful faith-building prayers I know. These prayers have helped people find peace during anxiety, strength during hardship, and hope when they felt like giving up. The best part is that I decided to make it completely free. If you would like a copy, simply check the link in the description and I'll send it to you. Do not wait until another difficult season arrives. Take it now while it's available and keep it close for the days ahead. Now there is something else you need to know. Archangel Michael says there were moments when you almost judged the entire story too early. That is one of the enemy's quietest traps, the temptation to name the season before it is finished. You see a closed gate and call it failure. You see a delay and call it abandonment. You see a detour and call it confusion. But heaven sees the whole map. Heaven sees the mountain ridge you could not cross, the river you were not allowed to ford yet, and the valley that concealed both danger and provision at the same time. When you were led away from one route, another route was being preserved in the distance. Pay attention now, because a hidden blessing was attached to the path you almost took, and it was waiting for the right hour to become visible. Comment ready if you are ready for clarity. There is a reason the weight has touched your emotions so deeply. Delay does that. It presses on the tender places. It forces you to confront what you fear most, that life is passing, that others are moving ahead, that maybe your story has fallen behind. But heaven says you were never behind. You were being calibrated. Some blessings require a version of you that does not collapse under pressure. Some assignments require peace that cannot be faked. Some promises require a heart that has learned to stand in the storm without losing its song. This is why the process felt longer than expected. It had to reach deeper than convenience. It had to stretch beyond surface-level readiness. And now, in the coming days, you will begin to see that the waiting was producing an interior strength no one else could manufacture for you. Type 1 receive if you are willing to accept heaven's timing over your own impatience. You are not the only one who has been asking questions. There have been conversations in hidden places, and one of them has been about you. A name has been mentioned. A doorkeeper has paused. A decision has already begun to shift in a room you were not invited into. Do not let that alarm you. Let it encourage you. Heaven often moves ahead of visibility. By the time the answer reaches your hands, many things have already been arranged in silence. The reason this matters is simple. What is coming next has been prepared through layers you could not see. The timing was not late. It was exact. And yes, someone has been quietly reconsidering what they once set aside. Keep reading because that detail will matter more than you realize. Type blessed if you trust that God is arranging what people cannot control. There were also relationships in your story that seemed meaningless until now. Some were brief, and yet they carried a message. Some were painful, and yet they exposed patterns you needed to see. Some were ordinary on the surface, but they placed a key in your hand when you least expected it. Not every person was sent to stay. Some were sent to unlock something. Others were permitted to reveal what needed to end. The heartbreak was not the whole story. Behind the heartbreak was sorting. Behind the sorting was mercy. And behind the mercy was a future that would have been compromised if certain attachments had remained. What happens next will explain why some connections faded while others came in at the right moment. Stay with this. The answer is not far off. Comment still standing if you made it through what should have broken you. There is a mountain in your story, and you have spent a long time climbing it with limited visibility. From the valley floor, everything looks like resistance. But when you reach the higher ground, the landscape below begins to make sense. That is what is about to happen to your understanding. You will look back and realize the hill you resented was actually giving you a wider view. The elevation changed your perspective, and the delay made room for clarity. Do not ignore this image, because it is part of how heaven is explaining your life right now. The same height that exhausted you will soon reveal the reason you were kept from turning back. There is more happening than you realize, and the summit is closer than your emotions have let you believe. Type yes, Lord, if you are willing to trust the climb. Some of you have felt ashamed of how often you questioned. You wondered if you were weak for being tired, if you were ungrateful for wanting the answers now, if you were less spiritual because your patience kept running thin. But heaven did not despise your questions. Heaven recorded them as evidence that your heart was still engaged, still hoping, still reaching. The opposite of faith is not struggle. The opposite of faith is surrendering the story to despair. You have not done that. Even in your frustration, you kept turning toward God. Even in your confusion, you kept listening. That is why this message found you. The waiting has not disqualified you. It has proven you. And before this season ends, you will see that what felt like silence was not empty at all. It was a room being prepared for your next answer. Type 1 Trust God if you are still holding on, even with trembling hands. Archangel Michael says there is a hidden obstacle that was never really about your ability. It was about timing, authority, and the removal of interference. Sometimes the obstacle is not the thing in front of you. Sometimes the obstacle is the season around you. If the season is not aligned, even the right thing arrives in the wrong way. That is why heaven delayed what you wanted, not because it was unworthy, but because the surrounding conditions were not yet ready to honor it. There is a future event coming that will make this obvious. You will look at the chain of small interruptions and realize they were blocking a larger chaos you were never meant to endure. This is not random. This is guardianship. Type 333 if you believe heaven has been speaking through the pattern. Now the pressure is shifting. You may not feel it all at once, but the atmosphere around your life is changing. The dark confusion that once sat heavily over your thoughts is starting to thin. Dawn is not symbolic only. It is approaching your doorstep in a real and meaningful way. When dawn arrives, hidden lines become visible. Paths that looked erased begin to appear. The same place that felt like a dead end can become a threshold when light touches it. What has been concealed for so long is preparing to emerge, and it will not come as a vague feeling. It will come with clarity. One conversation, one document, one invitation, one sign that cannot be ignored. Do not miss it when it comes. Comment "My time is coming" if your spirit is waking up to expectancy. Many people watching this message have been carrying burdens they never talk about. If that sounds like you, I want to give you something special. I created a free prayer guide filled with powerful prayers for protection, breakthrough, peace, healing, and strength. Thousands of believers have already downloaded it and shared how much it encouraged them during difficult moments. There is absolutely no cost. I simply wanted to place this resource into the hands of people who need it most. If you feel led, go to the description and claim your free copy before continuing. One prayer prayed at the right moment can change more than you realize. Now listen carefully, because the next part of this message is important. There is something else you need to know. Your delay has not been wasted even in the places where you felt most stuck. Those seasons were often the exact places where heaven quietly cultivated wisdom you would need later. You learned how to wait without losing yourself. You learned how to hope without overexposing your heart. You learned how to keep walking when the outcome was still invisible. These are not small lessons. They are kingdom lessons. They are the kind that prepare someone to carry impact without being consumed by it. That is why this breakthrough has taken so long. It was not merely trying to reach you. It was trying to find a version of you that could live inside it without fear. Keep your eyes open, because the next revelation will feel like a key fitting a lock you forgot existed. Type Amen if you believe God has been teaching you in the waiting. And yes, there were moments when the enemy tried to make you regret the very things that protected you. He wanted you to resent the closed doors so much that you would rush toward the wrong open one. He wanted you to interpret the long pause as divine neglect. He wanted you to become so emotionally exhausted that you would settle for lesser things just to escape the tension. But you did not fully surrender to that lie. Even if you stumbled, even if you cried, even if your confidence dipped low, something in you still knew that God was not finished. That inner knowing was not your imagination. It was spiritual memory. It was the echo of a promise still alive beneath the rubble. Comment, I believe, if you are still expecting God to finish what He started. What looked like delay was also alignment. That word matters. Alignment is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet, almost invisible, happening piece by piece as circumstances shift around you. A conversation ends so another can begin later. A loss clears space for a better fit. A disappointment prevents a premature attachment. A closed chapter protects the integrity of the next one. This is why the story took so long to make sense, because the meaning was not inside any one event alone. The meaning was in the arrangement. When the arrangement is complete, understanding comes, and understanding is coming to you now. Not all at once, but enough to heal the fracture between what you lived and what you believed. Do not leave now. The final stretch carries the strongest confirmation. Type faith if you are sensing the alignment. Archangel Michael says to imagine a sealed letter finally being opened after years of waiting. At first, the paper looks ordinary, but inside are instructions, names, dates, and pathways you could not have guessed on your own. This is how some of your unanswered seasons will be read. What looked like nothing will be shown to contain direction. What looked like absence will be shown to contain guardrails. What looked like delay will be shown to contain mercy and strategy. There is a hidden map over your life, and when the seal breaks, you will see why some roads vanished and why others appeared at the exact moment they did. The revelation is approaching faster than you think. Something significant is moving now behind the veil. Type 777 if you know heaven's timing is not late. You have wondered about the doors that never reopened. You have also wondered why certain blessings seem to circle your life before landing somewhere else for a while. Here is part of the answer. Some things were waiting until your hands were steadier and your spirit was quieter. Some gifts could not enter a rushed soul without creating strain. Some favor had to mature in the field before it could be harvested. That is why the process had seasons, not seconds. That is why the promise did not arrive in the form you expected. Before long, the shape of the blessing will make sense in a way that its absence never could. You will realize it was fitting you more precisely than your assumptions ever did. Comment blessed if you are ready to receive what fits. The final part of this revelation is this: heaven has been protecting not only your future, but your understanding of your future. If you had received certain answers too early, you might have tried to force what was meant to unfold. If you had known everything at the beginning, you might have mistaken fear for guidance. So God covered the story in stages. First the waiting, then the testing, then the quiet strengthening. Now the unveiling. This is why the peace coming over you will feel so deep. It will not be shallow relief. It will be holy recognition. You will know that nothing was random, nothing was wasted, and nothing was truly lost. The delays were chapters, not endings. The detours were classrooms, not punishments. The silence was never emptiness. It was preparation. Comment ready if you feel the peace beginning to settle in your spirit. And now the light is increasing. That is the image heaven wants you to hold on to. Dawn spreading over a hidden path, a mountain top revealing the full landscape, a scroll opening beneath patient hands, puzzle pieces meeting in perfect order. These are not poetic accidents. They are the language of a God who has been working far more deeply than you realized. What happens next will explain why everything took so long, and when that understanding comes, you will not only feel relief, you will feel gratitude. Gratitude for the closed doors. Gratitude for the delays that protected you. Gratitude for the people who left when they did. Gratitude for the silent seasons that built your strength. This is the moment where confusion begins to bow to clarity. Stay close. The explanation is here. Type 1 receive if you are ready for the answer that brings peace. So lift your head now, because the story is not behind you in the way you thought it was. It has been moving under heaven's hand the entire time. The long road was not punishment. It was preparation wrapped in mystery. And the reason it took so long is not to shame you, but to show you that every delay had a purpose, every detour had a guardrail, and every unanswered question was held inside a wisdom greater than your fear. The next revelation will confirm what your spirit has sensed all along. You are being led, not left. You are being covered, not forgotten. You are being readied, not rejected. Hold on a little longer, because the answer is coming with clarity, mercy, and undeniable peace. Comment God is working if you are ready to step into the understanding that has been waiting for you all along. Before you leave, remember that my free prayer collection is waiting for you in the description below. Thousands of people have already downloaded it and used these prayers during seasons of anxiety, uncertainty, spiritual battles, and breakthrough. I made it completely free because I want every believer to have access to powerful prayers when they need them most. If this message encouraged you today, make sure you claim your free copy before you go. And if this message spoke to your heart, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and leave your prayer request in the comments so this community can stand with you in faith. May God bless you, strengthen you, and guide every step ahead.